So we have not only these two aspects, but also we have a lot of overlapping. Those are interruptions, and when they are talking, they want to make clear their point of view. So they also use a lot of gestures, they use a lot of mimic, they move a lot of the hands, because the tone or the way they are speaking, it's all now with a little bit of anger. And then we continue with more participations, which are exchanges and overlapping, and in sometimes the audience gives their own reaction with applauses, with yelling, and as we could see here, we have that the conversation gets really chaotic. We have a lot of overlapping here with all the red parts, and it also, as a conversation, we can notice that it is really a fight. It is not just a debate. And from now on, here in the conversation, they are yelling and overlapping and direct questions. So and here, a little bit almost to the end of the video, we have the green part. This is turn taking. This is when a person, in this case Rosie, wants to take her own turn, and not with interruptions, not with overlapping, but she makes clear that she wants to talk, and she kind of asks for the word so she can give her ideas, because the conversation was already a mess with all the overlapping and interruptions. This until the end of the conversation, the end of the video.
Okay, now then we have this part of the analysis that we have referring to ellipsis and reference. Okay, in this part, Elizabeth is mentioning, here's your opportunity. Okay, later on in the next line, so she says, okay, you have a great democratic society. So that is the opportunity she's mentioned. So we are talking about cataphoric. Also, we have the part of do it if you want. Okay, what to do? What is necessary to do? So ellipsis. We are referring to, it is linked the part of the cataphoric reference with the ellipsis. It is just in the middle, what makes have sense to everything. Since the ellipsis, the previous words, to the cataphoric reference, the next word. Later on, we have Joy saying, do you know how much damage? Okay, which damage are we talking about? Okay, the damage is mentioned later on in the conversation. They also mention this guy. Okay, this guy, we are talking about George W. Bush. As already told you, we have the name in the previous lines. The Congress. Okay, this part of Congress, you have to know the function of the Congress. Not that exactly information. You have to know that the Congress is a part of the government that has certain functions in order to understand this information. Okay, later on we have the cataphoric reference and the exophoric reference, that Joyce says that Congress cannot pass anything. Later on they mention because Republican Party stick by his president. This is the part that makes reference to the cannot pass anything. That okay, it's kind of sarcastic, it's kind of funny, this specific part. And for political reasons, maybe this can seem like an extra exophoric part that maybe has not that much sense, but we are talking about some special political reasons that are the reason this situation is happening. So maybe right here in Mexico we can mention something about Peña Nieto and some dark business, but we already know which business we are talking about. So these political reasons are the same there in the States, that we have to be aware of which specific political reason they are talking about. Later on, we have exophoric reference talking about Iraq, Al Qaeda, and Osama bin Laden. We have to know this information from outside of the. We have to get this information from outside of the text. This part about when he was supposed to. Okay, what he was supposed to. We have go after Osama bin Laden when all this mess about the 9/11 happened. So we're talking about right here an ellipsis. In this part I omitted to select some words as Al Qaeda, Iraq, because we already know that they are exophoric reference, and right here but right here we're talking about some previous information, so I think that is not necessary to mention that they are also exophoric references. In this part Elizabeth mentions Iraq not attack us, we've been there before. This part of we've been there before is mentioning is making a reference to a previous conflict in the table, in the discussion, okay? And the part of are you hearing that? It's like, are you hearing what I'm talking about? That is the previous information mentioned. Okay, we have in this part the ellipsis. Did you know that? Okay, did you know that blah blah blah? We have the information right here in order to know what they are talking about. Also, what does that do for your enemy? The part of I'm going to wait 2 seconds in order to launch the bus. So in order to do not repeat the exactly words we're changing right here, this part. Also Elizabeth mentions it gives them time to plan. The part of them is referring to their enemies, and the supposed enemies that she mentioned are innocent civilians. And right here, kind of football, the kind of football that Elizabeth mentioned about attacking, according to Rosie, innocent civilians, that she thinks it is not like the best thing to do. Later on, a funny part that we have is the part that Rosie says, a big fat lesbian, loud Rosie. Okay, she gives some adjectives first, mention or referring to a certain person, and later on she mentions the name, that is herself. Later on she mentions innocent and pure Christian, and later on we have the name Elizabeth. So we have the right here the red part, and right here we are talking about Rosie in the first part and Elizabeth in the second part. The part of I'm not doing it, she's talking about she's not doing, like, continue with the conversation in that way because of the funny part of the media. Elizabeth mentions that line we are talking about, the exactly literally the lines that she was mentioning before, the sentence she expressed. The next one is watch them. Okay, we're talking about the TV shows, or the shows Rosie mentioned to Elizabeth. Okay, this part of I'm okay, so it complements with this part of I'm okay with Elizabeth. Later on we have the same parts about talking about ellipses, right here ellipsis, as I already told you, the yellow one, and the last part is mentioning something about the previous conversation. This is personal. What is personal? It's personal, the arguing, the discussion they are having. Okay, the lady is mentioned that that specific part is personal, so they need to calm down. So we have here, it is not like mentioning a specific part of the text, it is mentioning the situation, the previous situation they were talking about. Okay, and the last part, it says, I like watching Dancing with the Stars. This is exactly why. Okay, we are mentioning ellipses because this is exactly why I like watching Dancing with the Stars. Is redundant, is repetitive. So we change the way we express that part, and we have this part that is ellipses.